Hi, this is Vincent, and welcome to Right of Way, a vlog about traffic, transport, and road safety. Okay, I'm going to be real with you guys. We're not going to solve the problem of traffic in one easy step. But if we want to begin to solve the problem, we need to take one very important but very big step. And that is, we need to change our mindset about this traffic problem. It's been said that 80% of the vehicles on the road carry only 20% of the people moving through the city, while the remaining 80% who are moving through the city are squeezed into 20% of the vehicles on the road. So when you think about it that way, all the solutions that we've been trying to come up with in terms of trying to solve the traffic problem, like number coding and whatever, it's aimed at private vehicles. It's aimed at trying to get private vehicles to move through the city quicker. So what are the metrics? Maybe average speed through the city, average speed through EDSA, maybe travel times along EDSA. So the focus is really on moving vehicles. But what happens to the other 80% that aren't occupying the roadway in private vehicles? These are the 80% that are commuting, that are taking the MRT, that are taking jeepneys, tricycles, buses. What about them? So if we reframe the question to be, instead of how do we solve the traffic problem, how do we move more people quickly through the city? Then it becomes a mobility problem. And when we frame it as a mobility problem, then a whole world of solutions open up. And we're not limited to just number coding or road widening or building more flyovers. Because, to be honest, those solutions haven't really worked, as we can see. But if we really look at it as a mobility problem, then we have a whole world of solutions. So let's take a look at the mobility problem. In the last few months, I've had occasion to visit several cities in different countries. And during my visits, I've really tried to observe how things work there. Of course, some of these cities I visited before, but this time I looked at them through the lens of traffic, transport, and road safety. When it comes to mobility, some of these cities are experimenting with innovative ideas such as shared spaces. But what I saw consistently in these cities are very basic approaches to mobility. So there's no magic. It's just off-the-shelf knowledge, which if applied in Metro Manila, could have a lasting, sustainable impact not only on mobility, but on city living as well. Let me focus on three areas that I think are the most applicable to Metro Manila, all of which I've touched on actually in previous episodes. The first is mass transportation. This has the single biggest impact on mobility, I think. In all the cities I visited, mass transportation is everywhere. But they aren't just any mass transportation system. They are reliable, convenient, interconnected, and comprehensive. In a word, efficient. In all cases, the bus system has clearly defined bus stops. They don't let off or pick up passengers just anywhere, like they do here. In some cases, the buses even run on a defined schedule. You can actually walk up to a bus stop and see the schedule of arrivals posted. When the buses run predictably, then it's easier for a commuter to plan his or her day. All the more the underground train or tram systems. Because train and tram systems don't have to worry about traffic congestion, it's easier to schedule them. Again, this makes using public transportation easy and predictable, and that takes away a lot of the stress of commuting. An important feature of many of these public or mass transit systems is that they're interconnected. Take a look at the London transport system, for example. It consists not only of the famous underground, but a bus system and an overground train system that services destinations beyond the city limits. In order to have this type of interconnection among different transport modes, you need a central transport authority that oversees the whole metro-wide transport system, much like Transport for London in London or the Metropolitan Transportation Authority of New York City. We'll talk more about these transport authorities in detail in a future episode. Suffice it to say that a central authority is needed to make it work well. The second key area is walkability. All commutes involve walking at some point, whether it's walking from your home to a bus or train station, or walking from the subway to your final destination. All of the cities I visited recently are enjoyably walkable. This is facilitated by wide sidewalks and lots of open spaces. At night, they're well lit. They aren't obstructed by vendors, electrical posts, or any of the many obstructions we see on our sidewalks. Wide and unobstructed sidewalks actually encourage walking. I think with regards to sidewalks, it's a case of build it and they will come. Walking has many benefits. Aside from the obvious health benefits, creating a pedestrian culture can also boost the economy as pedestrians pop into coffee shops and retail outlets on their way to or from work or school. You'll notice this in many cities that have a pedestrian culture. Creating such a culture doesn't only require sidewalks, but also a respect for pedestrians and the recognition of their rights. Get a load of this. Pedestrians in London are really respected, and whenever there's a crosswalk, the pedestrian has the right of way. So take a look at this. A crosswalk. The cars are moving, but as soon as I decide to cross, they stop. Wow, how about that? The third area is to encourage alternative modes of transportation, such as biking and other personal transportation devices. More and more, cities are encouraging biking and the use of scooters by creating extensive and safe bike paths. In addition, many major cities have put up public bike rental systems, in some cases, public scooter rental systems, that make it even more convenient to use a bicycle or scooter. I first saw a public bike system in Oslo, Norway over a decade ago, and I noticed more and more cities around the world have put such systems in place. One good example is the city of Vienna, which has recently made a concerted effort to make cycling a main mode of transportation in the city. It has built over 1,300 kilometers of bike paths and has put up a public bike rental system called, creatively, City Bike. The City Bike system has nearly 500,000 members, 1,500 bikes, and 121 bike terminals in a city that has a population of less than 2 million. Vienna wants bicycles to have a 15% modal share in the future. I've also noticed in Vienna that many people are using scooters as an alternative to bicycles. Many are electric powered and therefore require less effort to use than a bicycle. I'm seeing more and more people use them in Metro Manila actually. The last thing I'd like to share with you is innovation that I saw in both London and Brno, Czech Republic, and that is the concept of shared spaces. A shared space is a pathway that is shared by all road users, private vehicles, public transport, pedestrians, cyclists, and others. A shared space is defined by the UK Department for Transportation as a design approach that seeks to change the way streets operate by reducing the dominance of motor vehicles, primarily through lower speeds, and encouraging drivers to behave more accommodatingly towards pedestrians. In London, Exhibition Road in the borough of Kensington and Chelsea was converted to a shared space. Likewise, when I was in Brno, Czech Republic, I observed the shared space in their historic district. In my limited interaction with both shared spaces, it seemed to work a little better in Brno than in London. In Brno, the speeds of motor vehicles and the trams were slow enough that pedestrians didn't seem to have much problem sharing the space with the private vehicles and the trams. As I walked through the area, it didn't feel dangerous to me. In Exhibition Road, on the other hand, cars traveling through the area seemed to be traveling well above the 30 km/h speed limit. As a result, pedestrian cyclists rarely crossed paths with motor vehicles, and there was a de facto roadway and sidewalk, much like a traditional city street. If we're really serious about addressing the mobility problems, then there are off-the-shelf components that we should be adopting here in Metro Manila. I outlined 3 of those components. It's not a complete set of solutions, but I think these 3, mass transportation, pedestrianization, and alternative modes of transport, are necessary components of an eventual comprehensive solution. The National Economic Development Authority, or NEDA, has come up with a national transport policy. I took a look at it and it looks pretty good. touches all the right buttons. It talks about prioritizing pedestrians. It talks about moving people, not cars. It talks about the need to invest in mass transportation. So the policy is not perfect. While not perfect, hits all the right buttons. The problem is, we Filipinos, we're good at writing papers and research and studies, and sometimes we get lucky and we're even good at policy. Our biggest problem has always been implementation. Can we implement the national transport policy as it has been laid out? That's going to be the key. But as I said, the national transport policy and what I've outlined earlier identifies some clear pathways to making Metro Manila a much more livable city in terms of transport and traffic and road safety. It all depends now on whether our government authorities and those responsible will start moving us towards that ideal where we will become more like Vienna or London in terms of transport, road safety and traffic, or if we don't. And so it's really up to us as citizens to put pressure on our government authorities to really move on this and to make sure that they stay on track with it. Well, here we are at the end of another episode. If you have any ideas, comments, suggestions, photos, or even videos that you'd like to share with us, you can email them to us at rightofway@rappler.com, or you can send us a message on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at rightofwayph. Until then, this is Vincent, and I'm out of here. Stay safe on the road, guys.